COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect various industries. The event sector has been hard hit since the first lockdown in March last year. Just last week, we saw one of the most iconic venues in Johannesburg, the Ticket Pro Dome, closing. Now, the South African Events Council is warning of more likely closures if the sector is not allowed to open soon. It says smaller operators have no chance of survival if the large Sasol pension fund could not even sustain the Ticket Pro Dome in Randburg here in Johannesburg. Let's talk more about this now with the council's chairperson, Progeny Pather. Ms. Pather, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I mean, to say it's tough times indeed, for your sector, it could sound like an understatement, but with the restrictions around your curfews and gatherings, it's like you can't exist anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 17 months now without any work for this industry. So we've seen the months just, add up, and that's what's resulted in the Ticket Pro Dome's closure now.
Yeah, the exhibition industry, how big is it?
It is a massive industry. We have exhibitions that serve different sectors. We serve different industry sectors. So there'll be an exhibition in mining, there'd be an exhibition in manufacturing, there could be glass, it could be decor, and both across both trade and consumer exhibitions. So we help to ignite businesses in these different industry sectors, and they use our platforms to engage with their suppliers, to engage with their customers, so that they can increase their footprint.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of exhibitions, expos. I mean, I'm just thinking here, every other month there'll be an expo, for baby clothes, an expo for this. The mining indaba, the famous mining indaba in Cape Town is a big one for the African continent, and I'm sure there's millions and millions of rand that go through it and jobs. Now, under the current circumstances, what could help? We are under level 3 lockdown restrictions. We have a curfew from 10 o'clock at night to 4 a.m. I know that the Restaurant Association is appealing for the government to remove the curfew so the restaurants can trade for longer and be able to make more money. Your side of things, your eventing side, exhibition side of things, what would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see government unbundle exhibitions from events. An exhibition is not an event. An exhibition is a marketplace, right? It is a retail environment where people come to buy and sell their wares. That's how basic it is. Yet we haven't been able to operate. We like a shopping mall, if you want to put it that way. So unfortunately, because government has bundled gatherings and bundled events and exhibitions as part of it, we haven't been able to operate at all. There's so many different kinds of events, right? You've got events of a social nature, you've got sporting and spectator events, you've got entertainment events, and then you've got business events like exhibitions. Now, we could separate those events so that at least some part of this industry could start operating. It would allow exhibitions, it would allow venues, it would allow suppliers, and it would allow organizers to start operating to sustain themselves and to sustain the staff that they have retained during that time. In addition to that, I think, people don't understand how long it takes to organize an exhibition. You can't be switched on and off. So unlike the restaurant industry or tobacco or alcohol, if you tell me to do business tomorrow, I cannot organize an exhibition for tomorrow. We need months, if not years, in advance notice to be able to host an exhibition. Yeah. So I need time, and you cannot switch us on and off either. So there needs to be time involved. So we need to know that by September this year, dependent on whatever factors, we've got all the protocols in place like everybody else, and we can operate. But right now, if we do not allow us to operate, there are going to be many more casualties, like the Ticket Pro Dome. Sadly so. The longer we leave it, we'll see more venues closing, more unemployment, and more businesses closing down.
The Ticket Pro Dome, was used for a number of exhibitions as well, besides concerts and events. Yes. So people who own venues that were designed to have exhibitions, I guess they're suffering. I mean, there's many of them across the country, and your convention centres in Cape Town, in Durban, in Sandton, for example, there'll be one of those. And you need time to plan an exhibition and get the various stakeholders to take part in. Is it easy to separate from events kind of thing?
Absolutely easy to separate from events. It isn't an event, you know. It isn't a gathering. With an exhibition, there's a constant flow of people into and out of a venue, like a restaurant or a mall. People are not gathered. If there are 5,000 people attending, it would be 5,000 people attending over a few days. Like malls, for example, it's a number of people that attend or visit those places over a few days, not congregating at the same time for a short duration of time.
Are you talking to government? Have you spoken to the powers that be to explain from an exhibition industry the differentiation that is likely and that you could therefore be safely managing the movement of people, the participation of visitors to the exhibition centre?
Definitely. We are in the process at the moment of submitting a proposal to government. We have been in talks with them as well to show them the distinction, to show them the differences, and to show them how we can operate in a phased reopening. And we understand the predicament we are in as a country, and we understand the need for the different levels of lockdown. But despite the levels of lockdown, we still can operate. So, for example, at lockdown level 3, we could operate at 30% of venue capacity. When we come to lockdown level 1, we could operate at 50% of venue capacity. And obviously, when we get to 0, then we can operate at full capacity. But we cannot wait for level 0 for us to reopen our businesses, because there will be no businesses. So we need that phased approach to sustain ourselves. If, for example, we were allowed this, you'd have venues like the Tikapro Dome and other convention centers and large venues around the country that would be able to sustain themselves. They might not be able to do a large-scale concert, but they would be able to host an exhibition.
Yeah, and I'm thinking here, as we conclude briefly, before I ask the last question, that from what I've heard, the people the medical scientists we've interviewed, if the vaccination rollout progresses well, and we manage to persuade those who are hesitant, we get the numbers up, we might just avoid a fourth wave, which is expected later in the year. But then the months of October, late October, might not be bad. Maybe you could plan some kind of a new pilot exhibition to prove what you've just said to me now in answering that question. Finally, jobs-wise, I guess exhibitions are like project by project. So it's not like, as you say, it's an ongoing thing all the time. It's project by project. There have been many jobs lost. People have lost job opportunities.
Absolutely. There's been, a varying from at least 30 to 50% of jobs lost in each of these companies. Lots of these companies have put their businesses on hold because there is no work for them right now. There is no way to sustain the jobs that they normally would help in the sector. So there's been a massive amount of people that have lost their jobs. And yes, our exhibitions are on a project basis, but our exhibitions are on an annual basis, if not a biannual basis. So a company like mine, for example, would organize 4, if not more, exhibitions in a year. So I need the staff to be able to do that. So we have a lot of permanent staff, but we employ a lot of temporary staff as well for the exhibition, because we need a lot of promotional staff. We need extra crew to help organize the on-site activations for those exhibitions. So there is large-scale job loss, and we need to be able to retain some of the skills because we do serve a purpose. We do bring economic tourism back into the country. We attract both international and local delegates from around the country. We spur businesses to bring more business to them. And our guests, our attendees that visit our exhibitions take advantage of all the tourist attractions from hotels. They need flights, they visit the attractions, and they support the local economy. So by allowing exhibitions to come back in a phased approach will allow the economy to be kick-started again.
Yeah, and exhibitions are used a lot. I've been to a number of them. Many of us, of course, South Africa, use a lot of those to showcase some of our innovations, creations and new stuff and thinking. Well, good luck to you in your engagement, Ms. Pfeffer. Hopefully somebody will listen and give you a chance at least once before the end of this year to have some kind of plan, some kind of an exhibition that when we are outside, away from this third wave, as numbers go down and vaccination goes up.